Hi folks, Mr. Long here. We're going to do a screencast on the volume of cones. Just going to go through a few simple examples and you'll be able to get some practice work done. So the first question is, how many cones fit inside a cylinder? Hopefully you watched that short little video clip to see that it takes 3 cones to fill up a cylinder, as long as they have the same height and radius, right? Like you're not going to have a cylinder like this size and then have 3 tiny little cones. Aren't going to fill that up, right? So the radius and the height have to be the same, or the diameter and the height have to be the same. So as an example here, if this cylinder and these 3 cones all have the same height, and they all have the same radius, then it's 3. So if I know the volume of this, if I knew the volume of this cylinder was 30, how do I figure out the volume of each of these? Well, if 3 of these fit into here, I just divide this by 3. So to get the volume of one cone, I would just do 30 centimeters cubed divided by 3. And that would be 10 centimeters cubed. 10 plus 10 plus 10. Okay, so the volume of one cone is 10 because 3 cones fit into a cylinder. So sometimes we get questions like this. What is the volume of the cylinder and the cone? You're supposed to be able to do both of them. What we have to remember is that 3 of these fit into 1 of these. So don't go ahead and do calculations for both of them with a formula. What you want to do is just use the formula for one of them and then either divide or multiply by 3. Now the simplest formula, of course, is the volume of the cylinder. It's just 3.14, which is pi, r squared, multiplied by the height, h. So if we look at this question, we know, again, the volume is 3.14 r squared h. That means, by the way, multiply between there and there and there and there. And r squared means r multiplied by r. So, or multiplied by itself. So if I want to do this, I have to substitute into the formula. There's your radius. There's your height. And notice the radius and the height are the same over here. So I would substitute in 3.14. The radius is 4, we can see in the picture, squared, times by the height, which is 8. So that's called substitution. Now I need to get my calculator and figure it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Desmos Scientific Calculator, which you can download for free. DESMOS. It's free on Android and it's free on Apple. So I would get it if possible. So what we had is 3.14. It's probably hard to see because it's so small, but 3.14 times radius squared, and the radius was 4. So radius, and then there's an a squared button, or you could put 4 times 4, times 8. And then the equal sign is the bottom right. So 3.14 times 4 squared times 8 is 401.92. So I'll go back here. It's 401.92. So that equals 401.92. Now that's centimeters, so volume is centimeters cubed. 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. That's how volume is measured. And by the way, that's the volume of the cylinder. So how do I get the volume of the cone now there? The volume of the cone, is it bigger or smaller than the cylinder? It's related cylinder. Well, it's a lot smaller. 3 of them fit in. So I just take the volume here and I divide by 3. 401.92 divided by 3 equals, and I'll go back to the calculator, and I just do 401.92 divided by 3. And that is 133.97. 133.97. Now what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to leave a link to the Desmos Scientific Calculator. So 133.97 Let me go back to that and see what that number was again. 133.97. That rounds nicely to 134. So 134 centimeters cubed. And that is the volume of the cone. Okay, so if you notice, I only had to do one calculation, and then I just had to divide by 3. Okay, because the cone and the cylinder are the same formula, except for the cone you divide by 3. Okay, so last question here. What is the volume of this cone? Well, volume equals 3.14, which is pi, r squared h. But that's the formula of a cylinder. I then have to divide that by 3 to turn it into a cone. Now there's something interesting in this one. And what's interesting in this one is that that distance there is 8 feet. But that's not the radius. That's the diameter. That's the distance all the way across the circle, the circular base. So actually, I have to take that number and divide by 2 to get the radius. So the radius is actually 4 feet. And it looks like this distance here is the height. So I said circle that, and I circle that. So I have my formula. I picked the right formula. I know what the height is. I know what the radius is. I had to convert the diameter into a radius. And now I substitute into my formula. 3.14. The radius is 4 squared. The height is 9. And then I have to divide that all by 3. So let's go and take a look at that in the Desmos calculator. So I do 3.14 for pi times 4 squared. Now I could have put the 4 in brackets, times by the height of 9, and then I'm going to divide that by, actually, you know what I'd like to do? I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to show you guys a nice way to do it. That's so small. I'm sorry that that's so small. Don't know a way to make that bigger. Enter. So I'm going to put the divide symbol first. And look at that. If I do the divide symbol first, it just gives me a fraction. So I can do 3.14 times radius squared, which is 4 squared, times by the height, which is 9. And now I divide by 3. Okay, so take a look at that. 3.14 times 4 squared times 9. And that the top part is just the volume of a cylinder, and then I divide by 3 to turn it into a cone. Hit enter, and the answer is 150.7. 150. Whoops. Whoa. 150.7. That's going to be feet cubed. Okay, the volume of our cone. All right, hopefully that screencast helped. Now I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do the questions that are posted in the PDF document.